Welcome back to another edition of Chicken Yard Sports. We are into week 2. Things are heating up. Shit is going down. I'm Earl Blasterson. This is Yak Blunderland. We're going to get right into it with the Broncos, although we are definitely not Broncos fans.
Yeah, definitely not Broncos fans, but definitely not Jags fans either.
No, and I mean, it looks like that Trevor Lawrence pick is paying off.
Dividends,
well.
dude. Yeah.
Dividends
Verbal
already.
meme real quick. So he has a worse start to his career than a man named Josh Rosen. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's quite the quarterback in the NFL nowadays. He's on his 7th team in 2 years, and nobody wants him. And guess who's doing worse than he is? Your boy T. Lawrence. He is starting off cold as ice, throwing for just 118 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. That touchdown came on Jacksonville's first drive of the day. They cruised right down and scored, and
they were looking good at that point. Another crazy thing is through 2 games, no one has thrown more uncatchable balls than Trevor Lawrence. I read something today, statistically, he has thrown the least catchable balls through 2 games in the history of that stat being.
Well, that checks out because he was 14 for 33 today, and he looked like it. Those 118 yards, I bet 50 of them came on the first drive. When he marched right down the field, they started good. It's what the Jags needed. And then from there on out, they couldn't sniff the end zone other than that kickoff return. And that was it.
Yeah, it was brutal. On the other side, Teddy B thrown for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Cortland Sutton had himself a day with 9 receptions, 159 yards.
Yeah, career day for Sutton. It's good to see him back into the swing of things after his knee injury last year. He had a great game. He was catching everything thrown his way. He was going deep. He was going short. And, he also got, or I guess he didn't get a touchdown, was the only blemish. But yeah, Cortland, big day.
We had Vaughn get a sack. We had Pat Surtain get his first interception or second. I can't even remember.
First interception, just a sick interception too down the sideline. I mean, honestly, a veteran play. Turned, found the ball, caught it, and kept 2 feet in bounds. It was an extremely solid play by the Broncos' first-round draft pick.
Yeah, it was heady. We'll move on now to.
Well, real quick, just like everyone predicted, the Broncos are sitting at the top of the division with the Raiders, while the Chiefs and the Chargers are tied for second at 1-1. Just thought I'd throw that in there. But let's move on. 49ers and Eagles. Again, another, not a rookie QB, but a sophomore. Jalen Hurts was looking real sharp early.
Trash game, man. My God, yeah. Jalen Hurts with 12 completions. I mean, that's really pushing the envelope, and it looks like even Greg Ward had a pass attempt, so things were going real well for them.
Yeah, this game is what you would call a defensive battle, I guess. Neither team was doing shit. There was 1 bomb before the first half for the Eagles, which was about all of Jalen Hurts' passing yards, and it was just boring as shit. Jimmy G got a rushing touchdown in the second half, though, as everyone predicted, the most mobile quarterback in the league. The Eagles just kind of got fucked by the refs throughout the entire game. Had a couple touchdowns called back, but man, just overall a game to fucking forget.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, that box score is just ridiculous.
Josh Rosen-like.
Yeah, Josh Rosen-like, exactly.
12 for 23 for 190 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions.
That's what we want to see from young quarterbacks. I don't see any point in talking about that game anymore. That was just utter and complete trash. We'll go on to the boys and the Chargers.
I think the real question in this game is Tony Pollard the new alpha in town? Has Zeke just got too stoned and eaten too many cheeseburgers and just forgot that he's a football player? I mean, I guess he got into shape this offseason, but man, through 2 games, Pollard has looked like the much better running back.
Yeah, well, Well, we'll hold off on that assumption for a little while, but he did on 3 fewer carries get a significant amount more yardage, and Dak looked relatively average. I mean, it's crazy that Dallas is 1-1 because they were total shit last year.
Oh yeah, they were absolutely terrible. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Chargers go, Herbert had a very pedestrian first half. He had an awful pick, just like to start the game, and it kind of set the pace for that first half. Honestly, Herbert looked pretty bad until into the second half when he started stringing in some drives together and did start playing well. Jared Cook continues to defy odds. He's been planning to fall off the face of the earth for like 5 years now. Never happened with Breeze. Now he's in Los Angeles, not San Diego, and he had a big game for himself. Made some clutch catches.
Yeah, and honestly, that Mike Williams touchdown was pretty sweet, but we've been waiting on Mike Williams to be a star for centuries now, and it just hasn't happened.
And I don't think it really will.
No, I doubt it will. And even though 338, you have the touchdown, 2 interceptions, maybe we can come down off this Herbert is incredible train for a little while.
I don't know. Herbert has been playing pretty fucking sick. I mean, he threw for 338 and a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and one of his touchdowns got called back, which was a brutal call. I mean, it was just a sick play by Herbert, and then
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, but so the touchdown gets called back, and the very next play, Herbert throws a pick in the red zone, and it was just like, oof, what fucking luck! Like with that, had that have been a touchdown, that just might have been the game right there. But then, but yeah, it was just back and forth.
And then we'll move on, and I'll let you take the lead on this one, but the Bills and the Finns, because I know how big a Tua fan you are.
Yeah, dude, I love Tua so much. And this game pretty much showed why, just pretty lights out by Tua, as of course is tradition because he's such a sick quarterback. But I mean as sloppy as possible. And
1 of 4 for 13 yards. You can't, that's Hall of Fame numbers.
Dude, is that dude know how to like take a hit in the NFL? All he does is get hurt. Every other game this dude is injured. It's like fucking A, man. Don't even stay on your feet. If you see a grown ass man running at you to take your head off and you don't have a throw, take the fucking sack. Don't try to do something pretty because every time you do, you fucking hurt yourself.
It's also just wild because the Bills didn't really have that great of a game on offense. I mean, Josh Allen 17 of 33 for 179. Like, that's not incredible.
The Bills didn't play great at all. This score is not indicative of this game. Bills won 35-0, but it was, I mean, Miami's defense didn't even play bad. Their secondary held Josh Allen for 179. They were blanketing Stephon Diggs all day. Diggs got 2 catches in the fourth quarter to basically get all his yards, 4 for 60 yards and a touchdown. But Xavier Howard had a great interception, almost had a second pick in the second half. Honestly, just dominated the entire game. But when your quarterback is Tua, like can't throw a fucking pass more than 4 yards deep, and then you got Jacoby Brissett coming off the bench when Tua gets hurt because he gets hurt every game, and he only has like 1 second to throw before he's under pressure. It's a brutal strategy.
Yeah, and Xavier Howard was the absolute best last year. I mean, the dude had like 10 or 11 interceptions, so that's dope to see. But
overall, not a great football game either. But I mean, good teams beat bad teams, and the Bills lost week 1 to the Steelers, but they're still going to be a solid football team, and they just shit pumped the Dolphins without even trying today.
And in general, I've just noticed that the games this week, unlike last week, there weren't any there were like blowouts, but statistically, all of it was just very bizarre. Like, a lot of quarterbacks throwing for under 200 yards, like just strange shit like that. Teams running the ball a million times and doing nothing with it.
Dude, some other crazy trends are 2-point conversions up like 10,000% this year. Like, it's nuts how many teams are going for two. I guess the analytics are finally catching up, because it's just crazy to see every team is going for two at some point during the game, which makes sense. It makes sense to your everyday football fan, but you got these hardo coaches that just don't like to believe in that shit.
Dude, YOLO, right?
YOLO. Well, we'll move it on to the Panthers versus Saints, and the Panthers crushed the Saints 26-7. And
it's just hilarious because Jameis looked like Jameis instead of LASIK again.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, dude, what a fall. Yeah, no, it was hilarious. I mean, yeah, I think everyone might be pumping the brakes a little bit on Jameis got LASIK surgery, therefore he's now a top 5 quarterback of all time. After last week's shit pumping of the pack, he falls way down to earth. And I mean, the Panthers dominated from the first whistle to the entire game.
Yeah, and in my opinion, even though the Packers got shit pumped last week, like, I would say they have a better roster than the Panthers. So for them to fall apart against them is absolutely hilarious.
The one brutal part of the Saints was they had 8 coaches out for COVID. And so, who was it? It was like the 3rd string rookie quarterback was handling the substitutions for the Saints. And it was like, what? Like,
oh, brutal.
How the hell does that work?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, let's talk about the Sam Darnold to Robbie Anderson, the New York Jet combo down in Carolina, alive and well. Robbie Anderson, you said it last week. That dude is good for one really long touchdown every goddamn week, every other week maybe. And again, he had just a fucking bomb this game too.
Yeah, no, he's hilarious. I mean, it's so good that the Panthers decided to go out and get Robbie Anderson as well, because that's apparently the only guy Sam Darnold can competently throw the ball to. Although he did have a pretty good game versus Sam Darnold.
Yeah, it's a great game for a Sam Darnold.
But I mean, also you have Christian C-Mac just put the team on his back, 24 carries.
Yeah, 24 carries. And yards. What did he had? He had like 137 total yards of offense himself. Like, yeah, when C-Mac's buzzing, the Panthers are buzzing. And I think they kind of follow his lead.
Yeah, and then let's move on to
Steelers Raiders. Let's do. This was kind of a shocking line. I mean, okay, the Steelers beat the Bills last week, but then they were favored by 4.5 going into this game, and I was like, how does this work? Like, the Steelers didn't necessarily look impressive last week. The Bills just looked even less impressive last week.
Exactly.
And the Raiders beat fucking Baltimore, and they played a great game. I mean, they tried to lose the game 6 times, but they ended up winning. And coming into this game, I mean, I just didn't see how the Steelers were heavy favorites, and Big Ben looked terrible right away. 9 minutes into the game, just throws an atrocious interception.
Yeah, it's Deontay Johnson though is really cementing himself as a star out there.
Except he got hurt on the last play of the game.
It
was like garbage time. Didn't even need to be on the field. And yeah, Deontay, and it looked like a somewhat serious knee injury. So not very pretty. But if I was Steelers
Which would
Nation,
be horrible for them, because Juju is a clown, and Claypool seems very up and down, you know.
Yeah, Claypool's sick for sure.
Or he doesn't. But for the Raiders, finally Henry Ruggs showed up. I mean, the man's been a ghost since he's been drafted, and he finally goes for over 100 yards. And, like, you've got to love that as a Raiders fan.
Yeah. Oh, you got to love that. And Carr's on his 9th year bump, and it's finally paying dividends because, holy shit, dude, he was surgical. he was just balling today, and as he did week 1 too. I mean, the Carr to Waller combination is absolutely ridiculous, and Carr has 3 like legit weapons. Renfro catches anything in like a 10-yard radius, and Darren Waller is one of the scariest human beings alive right now.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, he has been dominating as a tight end the last 2 years, and he's getting in that Kelsey, Kittle kind of range, if not
Dude,
surpassing them.
He's there for sure, in my opinion. I'd say it's those 3. Yeah. And yeah, even, I mean, Kittle's had a quiet start, but Kelsey, which we'll talk about later, he balled out yet again. He seems to always ball out. I guess Gronk's catching like everything thrown his fucking way, but Darren Waller he is an animal.
I know, Gronk is ridiculous. Let's move on to the Texans and the Browns.
A game that really no one should have cared about because it's the Texans versus the Browns. But the Browns are a fun football team to watch, and they didn't fucking seem like it the first half, basically. The Texans, Tyrod Taylor was playing great until he got injured, and then the Browns just kind of took over. When Mills was in the game, it was just like, yeah, sorry, Davis, you don't have a chance in hell to beat us.
And you have Nick Chubb doing his thing, and when Nick Chubb does his thing, that's really good for the Browns.
Oh yeah, Baker, pretty pedestrian day, but I mean it's really all he needed to. The Browns have a good defense, and Tyrod was picking them apart early, but then when he went down, all the momentum shifted, and it probably should have been more than a 10-point game, but the Browns just like could never put this game fully out of reach.
Yeah, and how about Brandon Cooks being solid once again for all you fantasy gurus out there?
Yeah, right. Yeah, everyone's starting the Texans receivers for sure. Nobody cares about your fantasy team.
Yeah, and then from there we'll move on to the Rams and the Colts.
So Rams beat the Colts 27-24. Pretty close game. The Rams seemed to be running away with it a little bit in the second half, and the Colts just kept hanging around and honestly got the game really close.
Oh my God.
Dude, he might be the best receiver in football this year.
Like, God,
Mr. Fucking reliable. Dude, he had like massive play after massive play after massive play. He had 2 touchdowns on the day.
Dude, if Derrick Henry didn't have such a big day, he would have been the talk of town. I mean, 9 for 163 and 2 touchdowns. It's fucking absurd. Like, those are actual Hall of Fame numbers. Like, my God.
Dude, and also, like, how does he get so fucking open every play? Like, his touchdowns aren't like crazy catches over a defender. It's like someone forgot to cover him and he's wide open down the field.
I know.
It blows my mind.
It's partly to do with his route running, and it's also partly due to Sean McVay's play calling. But like, yeah, when you're getting 9 receptions for 163 yards and averaging 18 yards a catch, that's definitely scheme as well as talent. I mean, that's just absurd.
Oh yeah, but also both quarterbacks had an absolutely hilarious interception. Stafford overthrew someone by like 20 yards in the first half, and then did you see Carson Wentz's shovel pass right into the fucking Rams defender? It was just like, dude, he's like 3 yards away and you like underhand tossed him the football, and he was just like, what? Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Carson is not doing himself any favors so far this year. I mean, no, he didn't look all that bad last week, but like, my God, dude.
We'll move it on to maybe the biggest shit show of the day. The number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson, and the New York Jets got shit pumped by New England 25-6 and had 4 interceptions on the day. Woof.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what else you're going to expect. It's the Jets are constantly throwing rookie quarterbacks out there, and they always have to play the Patriots twice. So you're always going to have a game that's this comical once in a while. But yeah, this is real tough to look at.
Oh, dude, it was so painful to watch. I mean, Mac Jones, or not, excuse me, not Mac Jones. Zach Wilson, his first interception, I wouldn't say it was necessarily his fault. The receiver fell down, but numbers 2, 3, and 4 were so bad. Like they weren't even in the stratosphere of his receivers, and it's just like, dude, where are you throwing this football? Like, do you want to play in the National Football League? You looked great in the preseason, and now you just look like an absolute clown.
And that's really saying something for Trevor Lawrence to bring it back to that, because if you're throwing the ball that off target as Zach Wilson, then like, what are you doing as Trevor Lawrence, you know?
Yeah,
But
right.
also to shit pump somebody 25-6 as Mac Jones only throwing 186 is pretty hysterical as well. I mean, they did not have that great of a game offensively either.
No, they didn't. They weren't necessarily moving the ball, but every interception was in field goal range, and Nick Folk kicked 4 fucking field goals. It was just like the Patriot way is now kick as many field goals as humanly possible during the game. And I'm just like, dude, it's so boring to watch. It's like, oh, shocker, they're lining up for another field goal right now.
Yeah, fuck the Patriots. I hate to see them winning now with Mac Jones.
Yeah, dude, he better not be the real deal.
Seriously, if he's the real deal, then the league needs to like figure out a way to get him banned or something.
Nice.
Maybe he'll do another Tom Brady like cell phone hacking trick, you know. We'll bring in the FBI.
Yeah, dude, it's like save some pussy for the rest of us, you know.
But then we'll do the Bears Bengals.
The Bears and the Bungles. Dude, the Bungles, God, dude, they had this game won. Joe Burrow. What are you doing, dude? 3 interceptions on 3 consecutive passes. Lose the game to the Bears 17-20. And it was right there the whole time. It was like, damn, the Bengals should do this. I mean, Andy Dalton gets hurt. Justin Fields finally gets in the game. And he doesn't play bad, but he sure didn't play good either.
No, Andy threw an interception, and it's like so much for like trying to not get him hurt. He ran the ball 10 times, you know? It's just, yeah.
Well, that's just because he can't get past his first read, and he's just like, his head's in the clouds. He's like, shit, that guy's not open. Number one option after that for him is let me try to run the ball wherever I can go.
Yeah, because we're definitely not Broncos fans. We definitely don't want him to succeed, you know? So
definitely not.
Yeah. If he succeeds, we're going to be super stoked on that.
But who we will root for till the end of time is Joe Burrow, but we'll never root for that stat line. Those 3 interceptions, God, woof, my dude.
No, that's brutal. It is nice to see Jamar Chase get another TD. I think he is the real deal.
Sick catch, too. Yeah,
oh, man. He's the real deal.
Came back to the football, caught it. The Bears defenders collide, and he walks into the end zone.
And seriously, fucking T. Higgins, like, is doing big things, and he wasn't really meant to be that guy. Like, he was a pretty late draft pick, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just a massive body.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll kick it on to the Vikings and Cardinals. The Vikings lose in absolute heartbreaking fashion on a missed field goal as time expired.
As it's like tradition for them.
Yeah. Yeah, the woos continue. Will they ever find a kicker that isn't just absolute dog shit? The world may never know.
Yeah. And I mean, the Vikings just an 0-2 start. I mean, it's bad for anybody. Nobody's ever come back from that to win a Super Bowl, but like the Vikings thought that they were going to be good this year. Like they really thought that they were going to be good this year. And
they could be good, but your quarterback's Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. And when you have Cook run for over 130 yards and Kirk throw you 3 touchdowns, like you should be able to win that game, you know?
With ease. I mean, Dalvin, he was cooking today, but he was either cooking or he was injured, and there wasn't an in between. That guy was on the field like 7 times today. And yeah, I mean, he ended up balling out. He ended up, nothing was serious, which thank God, because he's a fun dude to watch. But yeah, I mean, KJ Osborne, first play of the game, just an absolute nuke down the sideline for, what was it? It was like a 75-yard touchdown. And I mean, that's how the first half was. Well, actually, I take that back. That's how the last 3.5 minutes of the first half were. The Vikings were up by like 16 points or 13 points with 3.5 minutes left. And then the Cardinals scored 2 touchdowns back to back. The Vikings then kicked a field goal, and then Matt Prater kicked a 62-yarder before halftime as time expired. And dude, that dude has a leg. He might have the most kicks over 60 yards in history.
Yeah, and he also probably has the most DUIs in the NFL. So there's that as well. But
proud of you, Matthew. Attaboy, Prater.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Cardinals, though, for a second, and the fact that Kyler Murray is an absolute animal, throwing for 400 yards and rushing for another 30 and had 4 touchdowns. He has 9 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Like, the man is unstoppable, you know?
He has to be leading the MVP race. I mean, this dude is just balling out week in and week out, which is only 2 weeks so far. But good Lord, I mean, he makes special plays every other time, every other down.
He's like, making AJ Green somewhat relevant again. You know how hard that is?
Very, very hard. But he did have a couple terrible picks in the second half, which should have cost the Cardinals the game because Kirk played, you know, a clean game of football, which you can't always get out of him. But yeah.
Yeah, that's so bad.
Couple
for
picks,
the Vikings.
Crushed it.
If you get a clean game from Kurt and you can't win the fucking game, that's brutal.
But man, what a fun game that was. Another super fun game. Maybe the best game of the week. Probably the second best game of the week was the Titans versus Seahawks, where the Titans won 33 to the Seahawks 30. Do the Seahawks know how to play a normal football game?
Madness, dude. This was
like,
the most ridiculous fucking game ever.
And every week it's like this. I swear to God, it's like, Seattle, what are we doing here, boys? It's like they can't win like a 24-20 football game. There has to be like 3 Hail Marys, like just ridiculous shit happens the entire game.
Yeah, it always has to come down to Russell scrambling for his life and throwing an absolute bomb. It's just absurd. And then you have Tyler Lockett like somehow being the better receiver than DK Metcalf. But I mean, the stats from this game are so preposterous. It's ridiculous. You have Tyler Lockett, 8 receptions, 178 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then flopping over to the Titans, you have Julio Jones, 6 receptions, 128 yards. Derrick Henry, 6 receptions, 55 yards, but then 35 carries and 182 yards and 3 touchdowns.
We'll say that again to the people in the back. 35 carries.
Unbelievable.
For 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I don't know how many of those came in the second half, but it had to be like 140, which is hilarious because Seattle was winning 23-9 at half. And Mike Vrabel probably went to the locker room and was like, do you know what we need to do, boys? We need to run the goddamn football. And then Derrick Henry comes out and just balls the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, King Henry has been anointed once again. And everybody last week was like, oh, he sucks in September. Well, I guess he doesn't suck that much in September because that is some serious ballage right there. Like, unreal numbers. And also, like, the balls to just give your guy 35 carries in this day and age. Like, it's incredible. I mean, he really is so good. It's hard to even fathom. Like, there are no running backs that you can win giving the ball 35 times.
No,
nowadays.
absolutely not. No, not a single one besides Derrick Henry.
And then to throw another 55 receiving yards on top of that, like my man's went over 200 yards and had 3 touchdowns. Like those are Megatron fucking numbers. You know what I mean?
Woof. And definitely not DK Metcalf. Remember last year when Seattle had a stretch of like 5 games where Russ and DK balled out, and DK had the quote, he was like, yeah, I think we're on pace to be like the best. I'm going to be on pace to be the best receiver ever with Russ as my QB, like better than fucking Rice and Montana. And I'm like, bro, you're not even the best receiver on your team right now. Like, best of all time? Scoff.
Yeah, and Tyler Lockett is so low key, like behind the shadows, just balling the fuck out. Like, you think that he's kind of like their number 2, and at times has even been like their number 3, but then he does shit like this, and it's just crazy. And he's another guy, like you were saying about Cooper Kupp, is it's like when he does catch a touchdown, he's open
So
by like 40
open,
fucking
dude.
yards.
It's like, wow, is this guy so open? But dude, also, so in overtime, the Titans punt. And what the fuck is Russ doing? He's at the 10-yard line and he's getting sacked. And it's like, bro, just go down, go down, go down. And he goes all the way into the end zone and off his back foot throws up a prayer while getting sacked. Should have been a safety, to be honest. The game should have been over. But somehow they spot him at the 1-yard line. And so they have to punt, which, I mean, like it wasn't a safety, but it basically sealed the game because Tennessee got the ball back on like the 40-yard line. But it's just like, Russ, like what a fucking boneheaded decision. Like, what are you doing there?
Yeah, that's pretty wild move.
And then also maybe the wildest game of the weekend, Chiefs Ravens. The Terminator loses his first game in September.
Unbelievable. Of all teams, that was the Ravens when they just lost to the Raiders last week. I mean, that's just kind of pathetic on their part. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. They lose the game by 1 point, 35-36. It all came down to a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble. So in the offseason, Ravens left tackle Orlando Brown got traded to the Chiefs for a first-round pick.
Right.
The first-round pick was the guy who forced the fumble as well as recovered the fumble.
Unreal.
What's his name? Owiwa. I don't know how to pronounce it, but man, just like a baller play to be the team's first-round selection, force a fumble, and recover the fumble for a pick you took from that team. I mean, just a sick play.
Yeah, and for as much as you hate Lamar, I mean, what a stat line. 107 yards on the ground and 239 through the air with 3 total TDs. He did have the 2 interceptions, but, like, those are just hilarious football numbers. Like, who else runs for 107 yards on 16 carries? You know what I mean?
No, nobody but Lamar. I mean, dude, that dude is slippery. Watching just some of the plays he does every game. I mean, the guy's making 4 guys miss play in and play out when he's running the football. It's just like, Jesus Christ.
And it's not an original thought, but he looks just like Mike Vick used to look. So let's hope that Lamar doesn't have any secret underground dogfighting rings, because it would be amazing to watch him play for many more years, you know?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, just athletic specimen versus athletic specimen. Maybe the 2 biggest went head-to-head tonight. I mean, for Lamar versus Mahomes, it was a sick, fun game to watch. But maybe the MVP of the night is Hollywood Brown, who invited both of his girlfriends to the game and didn't tell the other one that the other one was there. And he had his first good game of his career. I mean, Marquise Brown has done nothing since he's been drafted a couple years ago.
He's had a couple good games, but
he's had all right, like 1 or 2. But he balled out tonight when he had 2 girlfriends at the game.
I mean, what a legend. That makes me want to get a Hollywood Brown jersey.
Just for that.
Yeah. I surely am going to have myself some Hollywood Brown weekends coming up, you know. I
I mean,
always
a man
invite
can
both
hope.
my girlfriends,
Yeah, yeah. Every
to watch
time
me
I go
play
everywhere.
football.
Yeah, in a stadium with 60,000 people. League wide, I guess we went over how the fucking receivers are so goddamn open. Another thing, the taunting rule. Can it fuck right off?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I don't think that it's doing what it was intended to do.
Dude, it's just like if you make a good play, you're not allowed to celebrate anymore. It's like, dude, what are we turning into?
It's soft. It's soft as fuck.
Softer than baby shit.
Yeah, not a fan at all. But
But
other than that, that is wrapping up week 2 here at Chicken Yard Sports. We appreciate any of y'all that are watching. Please like and subscribe. We're going to have a lot more content coming your way as the season progresses. And remember, this is only week 2, so plenty more in store for you. I'm Earl Blasterson, and this is Yak Blunderland, and we're going to call that a wrap. Peace
cheers.
out.